Hello students, we learnt Euclid's division algorithm to find the HCF of given numbers in our previous mathematics session. And now in today's mathematics class, we are going to discuss about the fundamental theorem of arithmetics, the next concept of the real numbers from chapter 1. See, before going to establish the statement for the fundamental theorem of arithmetics, I will start my discussion with the Euclid's division lemma, which we learned in our previous sessions. You know that Euclid's division lemma states a representation for any given two positive integers. If I have two positive integers a and b, there exists unique pair of q and r such that a is equals to bq plus r. Have a look at this. For any positive integers ab, there exists q and r such that a is equals to bq plus r. And there are certain restrictions on this r such that the value of r for sure is in between 0 and b. This is a representation from Euclid's division lemma. And we will express this representation in long division process as this. When a is divided by b, it leaves a remainder r with a quotient q. This is from the Euclid's division lemma, and this is the long division representation similar to this statement. And now, if r is equals to 0, what will happen in this statement? Have a look at this. If r is equals to 0, that in the sense, if remainder is equals to 0, what will happen? If r is equals to 0, then Euclid's division lemma statements will become a is equals to bq, and this long division process will become like this. When a divided by b leaves remainder 0 for some quotient q, if r is equals to 0. And we know from our earlier classes that if the remainder is equals to 0, then we say this division as exact division. And here we mentioned that a is exactly divisible by b. And in other words, we call this b as factor of a and a as multiple of b. The same terminology we carry for this a is equals to bq. So if a is equals to bq, here we call that b as factor of a. What we call b as factor of a and a as multiple of b. A and b are related. How they are related? B is called the factor for a, whereas a is called the multiple for b, just from the division process if the remainder is equals to 0. For example, look at some examples. For example, if take a number 54, how can we write this 54? See, if you write that 54 as some 2 into 27, since we are writing that 54 as 2 into 27, that in turn represents that when you divide 54 with 2, leaves remainder 0. When you divide 54 with 27, also it leaves remainder 0. Then in this case, we call 2, 27 are factors for 54. Is it right? 2, 27 are factors for 54 just by writing that 54 as product of two numbers. And now let us go with some other representation. If you express this 54 as some 6 into 9, is it right? 6 into 9 is 54. Since we are expressing that 54 as 6 into 9, if you divide this 54 with 6, leaves remainder 0. If you divide this 54 with 9, it leaves remainder 0. Then here we call 6, 9 as factors for this 54. Like this, by expressing the given number as product of two other numbers, we will list out all the factors for 54. Let us look at the all possible representations for 54. See, for example, move with 54. I have 54 with me, and I can write this 54 as 1 into 54, or I may write it like 2 into 27, or 3 into 18, and 4 is not a factor, 5 is not a factor, 6 into 9, and afterwards again I will use 9 into 6, 18 into 3, and they are similar to this product of two numbers. See, since 54 is equals to 1 into 54, 1 is a factor for 54. 54 is also a factor for 54. Since 54 is 2 into 27, 2 is a factor, 27 is also a factor. 3 is a factor, 18 is also a factor. 16 is a factor, 9 is also a factor. Then at the end, these are the possible representations for 54 as a product of two numbers. Those in turn represents the list of all the factors of 54. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18, 27 and 54. See, among all these representations, look at the first representation that 54 is equals to 1 into 54. This type of representation is possible for all the numbers. Take any number, you have a chance to express that number as product of 1 with itself. For example, take any number. See, I have a number n, I can represent it like 1 into n. Is there anything wrong? No. Why? Because 1 into n is clearly n. So, from this statement, I can conclude that 1 is a factor of that number, n is also a factor of that number. That means 1 is a factor for all the numbers. Similarly, n is also a factor for itself. So, every number is a factor of itself and 1 is also a factor for every number. We learnt all these things in our previous classes. Just to establish the fundamental theorem of arithmetics, I am just recalling all those definitions. See, with this idea, I have two observations in my hands. One is 1 is a factor for every number, and another observation is every number is a factor of itself. See, along with this 1 and itself, the numbers may have some other factors, and there are some numbers which have only these two as factors. See, we need to classify those numbers. For suppose, consider a number 13. If I have 13 in my hands, I can represent this 13 like 1 into 13. Since I wrote this 13 as 1 into 13, 1 is a factor for 13, 13 is also a factor for 13. I don't have any other representations as a product of two numbers for this 13, right? See, for example, if you take some other number like 12, then this 12 have many representations like 1 into 12 or 2 into 6 or 3 into 4, like that. That in the sense, some numbers have only this representation writing as a product of 1 with itself, and other numbers have, along with this representation, some other possibilities are also there. At this case, we will generate a term called prime number. See, what is a prime number now? Prime number is a number. Prime number. Look at that. Prime number is a number which has only two factors, 1 and itself. 1 and itself are only the factors for a prime number. It has no other factors. Only 1 and 2. Number of factors for a prime number are only 2. Right? And there are some other numbers like this 12 which have many factors, more than 2 factors other than 1 and itself, and we call all those numbers as composite numbers, right? So, composite numbers. Composite numbers are the numbers which have more than 2 factors, which have factors other than 1 and itself, right? So, more than 2 factors. What are the general statements related to the composite numbers? We need to write that composite numbers have more than 2 factors other than 1 and itself. The factors for the composite numbers are other than 1 and itself. I think you learnt all these things in your previous classes, but just here I am recalling all those things, okay? So, prime number you have only 2 factors, composite number have more than 2 factors other than 1 and itself. So, we have many natural numbers with us. See, list out all those numbers and analyze which of those numbers are prime and which of those numbers are composite. See, let us move with the first 20 natural numbers to classify which of those numbers as prime and which of those numbers are composite. Let us start with the number 1. And think about that 1. What are the factors for 1? We will write 1 as just 1 into 1 only. That in the sense 1 has only one factor, which is again 1 only. Since 1 has only one factor, what we say? Whether it is prime or composite. As per our definition, we mention a number as a prime if it has two factors. And we mention a number as composite if it has more than two factors. But 1 has only one factor, so it fails the definitions of prime as well as composite. That's why 1 is a special number and we call it as neither prime nor composite number. Make a note it, pay your attention here. This 1 is neither prime nor composite, right? Neither prime nor composite number is only one number and that number is 1 itself, right? So this is a special number. Then 1, the next number is 2. Think about it. 2 is just has two factors, 1 and 2 only, so 2 is a prime number. And the next natural value is 3. 3, we write 3 as only 1 into 3. We have only one representation writing it as product of two numbers 1 and 3. So 3 is a prime number. And the next number, if you go with 4, think about that 4. 4 has many representations like 1 into 4, 2 into 2. That in the sense, this 4 has more than two factors. Not only 1 and itself, other than this 1 and itself, it has some other factor too. That's why we call this 4 as a composite number. Whereas this 2 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number, 4 is a composite number. Think about 5. It has only one representation, writing it as product of two numbers, 1 and 5, 1 into 5. It has only two factors, 1 and 5. No other number is there as a factor for 5. That's why 5 is a prime number. And then think about 6. 6, what you say? 6 can be written as like 1 into 6 as well as 2 into 3. That in the sense 6 has more than two factors and that 6 is a composite number. And then if you check, 7 is a prime number. 8 is composite number, 9 is composite number, 10 is composite number, 11 is a prime number, 12 is composite. Why? Because just I mentioned you, we can write the 12 as 1 into 12 or 3 into 4 or 2 into 6. That in the sense this 12 has more than two factors. So it is a composite number. And then 13 is a prime number, 14 is a composite number. Like this, if you analyze the numbers goes on like that, you will find many prime numbers and that in turn represents that there are infinite number of prime numbers. Once again, if you look at the prime numbers, see this 1 is neither prime nor composite because it has only one factor. It fails the basic definition of prime as well as the definition of composite. That's why this is one and only one number which is neither prime nor composite. And other than this one, if you look the remaining numbers, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and then if you move on like that, 17, 19, and all these numbers are prime numbers. And if you observe all these prime numbers, you may get certain observations. The first observation is that all the prime numbers are odd except these two. Is it right? Just observe it. Because every even number is a multiple of 2, so it can't be a prime, it must be composite. That in the sense, every prime number is odd. The first observation among the primes is every prime number is odd. And 2 is the only even prime, and we say that 2 is the least prime also. If you analyze like this, if you move like that, you may get many prime numbers that represents that there exists infinite number of primes, right? And another thing what we note from the composite number side, see, composite number is a number having more than two factors other than 1 and itself. And that composite number we can express as a product of two different factors. Is it right? That's one more idea we need to identify. Right. Now, at the end, we have infinite collection of prime numbers with us. Among those infinite collection of prime numbers, let us take few prime numbers. Let us take a finite number of primes, few prime numbers. For my instance, I am just taking the primes like 2, 3, 5, maybe some 7 or 11, anything. Let us start with few prime numbers. Actually, how many primes we have? We have infinite number of primes. And among those, you just start with few prime numbers like 2, 3, 5 and 11. Right, these are the prime numbers with me. And now you just multiply these prime numbers in all the possible ways. In all possible ways in the sense, you just multiply these primes by taking all the numbers or by taking few of the numbers. At the same time, you are allowed to repeat any number as many times as you wish. That's what I am saying is, you just observe these primes 2, 3, 5 and 11. You just multiply the numbers and try to make some other numbers, some other positive numbers. See, if I take 2 and 3, if you multiply 2 and 3, you get 6. And for suppose if you multiply 3 and 5, you will get 15. Why only 2? You may take 3 numbers. For suppose if you multiply 2, 3 and 5, what you get? 2 into 3 is 6, 6 into 5 is 30. Another number. And if you take 3 other numbers like 3, 5 and 11, if you multiply 3 into 5 is 15, 15 into 11 is 165. See, you will get some other number. Okay, leave about the result, but you have a number. And why we need to take only 3? Why only 2? You may take 4. Repetitions are allowed. You are allowed to take any number as many times as you wish. For suppose, take 2 for 3 times. Take 3 for 2 times. Like that if you continue, see 2 into 2 into 3 into 5 into 5. See, this is a number. If you multiply, you will get a number. See, you are freely allowed to take any number of times. And if you continue multiplying like that, you will get different numbers. And it is very clear that all these possible numbers are composite. Why you are saying it as composite? Because, see, for suppose if you take 15, we are writing this 15 as 3 into 5. Just by the definition of composite number, if a number is written as a product of 2 other numbers other than 1 and itself, we say it as composite, and that's why this 15 is a composite number. So, in a similar pattern, if you check, all the formed numbers, newly formed numbers are again composite. And here you have a chance to take any number of times, and you are multiplying in all the possible ways. That in the sense, if you take these numbers in different combinations, you will get infinite number of larger negative positive integers. And all those infinite number of numbers are again composite numbers. Is it right? So at the end, what I am concluding is, there are infinite number of primes actually. Just we mentioned there. And among those infinite number of primes, just you start with few numbers. For suppose I am starting with this 2, 3, 5 and 11. If you multiply the numbers from 2, 3, 5 and 11, any number of numbers, any number of times, you just take those and then multiply. You will get infinite number of newly formed numbers. And all those numbers are in turn composite because they are the product of some other numbers by the definition of composite. That represents that if you take finite number of primes, they only generates infinite collection of composite numbers. But actually there are how many primes? Actually there are infinite number of primes. If you do like this, if you multiply all those infinite collection of primes in all the possible ways by taking any prime number, any number of times, they will generate infinite collection of composite numbers. Is it clear? We have infinite number of primes and we are going to generate infinite collection of composite numbers. And how we are generating? We are generating those composite numbers from the primes by multiplying any prime with any number of times. Like that you will generate infinite collection of composite numbers. And at the end, it concludes that a composite number is just nothing but the product of certain prime numbers. The composite number is just nothing but the product of collection of certain prime numbers according to the value. And for suppose, if you start with a composite number, I have a composite number with me. For suppose, if you start with a composite number. See, since it is a composite number, we have a chance to express this composite number as product of 2 of its factors. See, I have a composite number. I will express this composite number as product of 2 of its factors. Is it right? So, just by the definition of composite number, 100% it is correct. So at the end, this composite number is product of 2 factors. Now, just look at those factors. The factors may be prime or may be composite. See, if there is any composite factor, again you have a chance to split up further it as product of two other factors. Is it right? Just follow what I am saying. I have a composite number. Just by the definition of composite number, you have a chance to write that composite number as product of its two factors. See, I just writing that as product of two factors. And now look at those factors. If you look at those factors, the factors may be prime or composite. If again the factor is a composite, you have again a chance to split up further, right? So you just split up further and again observe the factors. Still, if any composite number exists, split up further. Split up further. And if you continue like that, ultimately at the end you will arrive a stage where all the numbers are primes. Is it right? That means at the end you have a chance to represent a composite number as product of primes. Let us discuss this with an example. For example, I have a number 210. Yeah, just for the space concern, I am erasing this. Let us start with the composite number 210. Right, I have a composite number 210. You just split, since it is composite, you are allowed, you have a chance to write this 210 as product of two of its factors. See, how can I write? See, I will just write it like 2 into 105. 210 is just nothing but 2 into 105. Right? See, look at the factors 2 and 105. If you look at the factors, 2 is a prime, but this 105 is not a prime. 105 is a composite. Since it is a composite, you have a chance to split up further. Just what I said. You have a chance to split this 105 again. Then if you split that 105, then you have a chance to write this 105 as some 5 into 21. Right? Just look this 105. This 105 is just 5 into 21. And now look at the factors 5 and 21. Again you have a composite number here 21. Split up further. If you split up further, you have a chance to write this 21 as 3 into 7. So now look at the factors. These two are just primes. So further split up is not possible. So at the end, you can write this 210 as 2 into 5 into 3 into 7. That in the sense, 210 is a composite number and we expressed it as product of some primes. Right? So this way of expression, this way of splitting as a product of primes is possible for all composite numbers. And this idea leads to the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics. And at the end, the fundamental theorem of arithmetics states that every positive integer is either itself a prime or we can express it as a product of primes. Right? So this is the fundamental theorem of arithmetics. Just by the basic importance of this fundamental theorem, we are calling it as fundamental thing. Right? See, it has a very basic importance in developing different properties of numbers. That's why we are calling it as the fundamental theorem of arithmetics. Now, let us look the formal statement for the fundamental theorem of arithmetics. See, look at the statement. The fundamental theorem of arithmetics. Just it's a formal statement for the statement what we generated with our discussion. Look at there. Every composite number. See, we have a composite number. And that composite number can be expressed or factorized. You may say it as expression or way of expressing or way of factorizing. Every composite number can be factorized as product of primes. Right? For sure it is true. Because in our earlier classes itself, we know that the process of prime factorization. Writing a composite number as a product of its primes is prime factorization. And here this fundamental theorem of arithmetic states, beyond that, composite number can be expressed as a product of primes, and this factorization, this way of expression is unique. This way of expression is unique apart from the order in which the prime factors occur. That's what we need to analyze. For suppose, just we'll discuss with an example 210. See, for example, I have a number 210. If I factorize it as a product of primes, it is just nothing but 2 into 5 into 3 into 7. And some other may write it like 2 into 7 into 3 into 5. And another person may write it like 2 into 3 into 5 into 7. If you look all these things, see, expressing 210 as a product of primes is possible in many ways, but all those ways are similar if you are not particular about the order, right? If you are not particular about the order, apart from the order, see, if you are not particular about the order, all these things are similar and there is a unique way of expression. Is it right? All these things are similar actually, right? See, if you are particular about the order, there exist many ways, right? But the values of all these products are same as 210, so don't bother about the order, because we know that commutative property happens for multiplication, so all these numbers are same. So if you neglect the order, if you are not important about the order, all these things are same, and that expression is just unique. That's the fundamental theorem of arithmetic states. And among all these representations, we usually consider the representation where the prime numbers are in ascending order. See, actually we have a chance to write in any one of these ways. But just to avoid the confusion among the students, usually we follow with the factorization where the prime numbers are there in ascending order. That's it. And that's the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics. Let us look at few examples related to this statement. Right. I have a problem on the board. I just prove it just by using the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics. See, the problem asks us to show I have a number 17 into 11 into 2 plus 17 into 11 into 5. Right. We need to check whether it has a prime or composite. We need to check. Actually, this is not one number. This contains two parts because a plus sign is involved there. 17 into 11 into 2 is one term of the number, and 17 into 11 into 5 is another term of the number. See, multiplying this, simplifying and multiplying this, and on adding, you will get a larger number. See, to show that larger number as a prime or composite, to check, it's somewhat a lengthy and difficult process. So to avoid that, what we have to do? See, for that, I recall a property of the numbers which we call it as distributive property, which you learn in your earlier classes. For suppose, if I have that a into b plus c, right? If I have a into b plus c, we will write it like ab plus ac, right? Usually we call it as distributive property. Why? Since we are distributing this a, for each and every number of this inner bracket. Right? Just look at this. If you distribute a for b, it becomes ab. If you distribute a for c, it becomes ac. And now look at the end. A into b plus c is equals to ab plus ac. We have two options. If you have a into b plus c in a problem, you just distribute this a, it becomes ab plus ac. Or if you have ab plus ac in any problem, a is common for these two terms, you just collect back. See, if you move in this direction, you are distributing. If you move in this direction, we are collecting back. See, a is there as a common in these two terms. You just collect back that common a and write it as a into b plus c. Just by applying this simple property for the given numbers. See, 17 into 11 is a common thing. 17 into 11 is a common thing for those two parts of the number. So since 17 into 11 is a common number, you just collect it, and then I will rewrite it like this. 17 into 11 of, just like this. Since a is common, we are writing a into. Since 17 into 11 is common, we are writing 17 into 11 into. The number is 17 into 11 instead of a. You need to add this 2 and 5. 17 into 11 into 2 plus 5. Yeah. Now, this 2 plus 5, easily we can add 17 into 11 into 7. Is it right? And now, this is the number. You may say it as n. Just let it as n. See, the given number is n, and that given number is at the end product of primes like 17 into 11 into 7. Since we are expressing n as product of primes, we confirm that n is a composite number just by the support of fundamental theorem of arithmetics. As it states that every composite number is product of primes, here it is a product of primes, so that n is a composite number, and at the end this given number is a composite number. Look at another problem on the board. See, we need to check whether 4 power n can end with the digit 0 for any natural n. See, n is a natural number. Just you replace this n with any other natural. Okay, then you will get like 4 power 1, 4 power 2, 4 power 3 like that. We need to check whether there is any number among those group 4 power 1, 4 power 2, 4 power 3 which ends with digit 0. That's what we need to check. Right. See, the numbers which are ending with 0, if you observe, if a number ending with 0, it is surely a multiple of 10. That in the sense, a number ends with digit 0 if it is divisible by 2 and 5. Is it clear? See, every number which ends with 0 is surely a multiple of 10, and that in the sense, a number ends with 0 if it is divisible by 2 and 5. Right? So whenever a number is divisible by 2 and 5, then automatically you will get 2 and 5 as prime factors in its prime factorization. Is it clear? So first thing is, we need to check whether it ends with digit 0 or not. To check, we need to find out whether it is divisible by 2 or 5. To check whether this 4 power n is divisible by 2 and 5 or not, you need to check for the prime factorization of 4 power n whether 2 and 5 occurs or not. And to check the prime factorization of 4 power n, I will start with the 4. Just if you apply the fundamental theorem of arithmetics for 4, right? What we are doing? We are applying the fundamental theorem of arithmetics for 4. Since 4 is composite, by the statement 4 can be expressed as product of primes. And as a simple, this 4 is here, 2 into 2, and nothing but 4 is equals to 2 power 2, 2 square. Since 4 is equals to 2 square, and you just write that 4 power n. See, and if you apply power n both sides, 4 power n is 2 power 2 power n. And that is equals to 4 power n is equals to 2 power 2n. That in the sense, if you look at the 4 power n, its prime factorization contains only 2's, okay? There is no 5 in the prime factorization of 4 power n. Since in the prime factorization of 4 power n, there is only 2 and not 5, this 4 power n is divisible by 2 but not 5. This 4 power n is divisible by 2 but not 5. Since 4 power n is divisible by 2 but not 5, 4 power n is not divisible by 10. And 4 power n is not a multiple of 10. Since it is not a multiple of 10, it never ends with digit 0. That's it. So we proved it just by using the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics. All these type of problems, we just start with the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics, just by expressing the given number as a product of primes, and we continue like this. And that's the problem. At the end, this 4 power n is divisible by 2 but not 5, so it never ends with digit 0. So in this class, we learnt about the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetics and thus establishment of the statement, right? Starting from the factors, prime numbers, composite numbers, and expressing composite numbers as product of different primes, and from there we established the statement for the fundamental theorem of arithmetics. And in the next class, we are going to find the LCM and HCF of the given numbers using the same fundamental theorem of arithmetics. And now, look at the slide on your screens. It contains few problems related to the fundamental theorem of arithmetics just for your practice.